This 24-year-old teacher was kissing her 5th grade student during school hours. This all came to light when the boy's mother overheard her 11-year-old son speaking on the phone with Madison Bergman, her son's teacher. She felt like something was off, so she went through her son's text messages and found inappropriate conversations between them and then reported it to the school. And the 5th grader told investigators everything. He said that him and Madison spoke on the phone almost every day and that he got her number during a ski trip. And get this, Madison got engaged with her longtime boyfriend on the same day she attended the ski trip with this child. They found out that the essay was going on during lunchtime and after school. Investigators also found disturbing notes inside Madison's backpack between her and this student where they constantly talked about kissing. They even found text messages where Madison admitted that she loved him so much but needed to stop talking to him because she knew it was wrong. She was supposed to get married in July, but obviously that's not happening, and she was arrested and charged with child SA and was released on a $25,000 bond.
If you scare easily, swipe on. In 1989, a woman started hearing strange banging sounds in her walls and in the ceiling, and then one night the crawl space to her attic was open, so she went to go have a look. When she's just feet away, an old man suddenly appears in the crawl space and looks her dead in the eye before vanishing. There was nobody else in the house. Worried no one's going to take her seriously over an apparent ghost in her house, she ends up calling a paranormal investigator. When the paranormal crew arrived, they were actually very skeptical until they heard loud banging in the attic and they decided to go up and have a look. As soon as the two men get up into the attic, one of them screams and suddenly disappears. The other, who didn't have a flashlight, starts using the flash on his camera to illuminate the attic. And he takes one of the most famous pictures in paranormal history. His partner, who was in total shock, had been lifted off the ground and tied to one of the beams. That was the last night the woman ever stayed in the house. However, it's still being rented out today, but nobody stays longer than 1 or 2 months.
Videos that seem innocent but have a terrifying backstory. Part 9. In 2015, married couple David and Louise Turpin traveled to Las Vegas to renew their wedding vows with an Elvis impersonator. The couple appears to be cheerful, having a very happy family with many children. But 3 years after this video was taken, one of the daughters managed to escape the home and go to the authorities. As it turns out, all 13 children had been locked up in the house, abused, and malnourished. In one of his final live streams, popular Twitch streamer Byron Bernstein, better known by his Twitch name Wreckful, joked about suicide and even mentioned testing out to see if he could survive a fall from his balcony. A month after the stream aired, Byron took his own life by jumping from that very same balcony. In 2014, adventure YouTuber Snakebit McGee uploaded a video entitled MK Pike.
I'm looking for a cave that I found. Something about that cave just spooked me. This one just made my body vibrate.
He has since gone missing and to this day has never been found.
This stepmother recorded her 4-year-old stepson crying and begging for food in his final moments before he died. She would forcefully starve him and even lock the cupboard so he couldn't get in or get any food possible. The good news is she got sentenced to 25 years in prison even though she kept denying that she was responsible for this child's death. Her attorneys claimed that she wasn't in the right mental state and they begged for clemency, claiming she had a 3-month-old child that she was breastfeeding during the trial and everything and all the events that happened. But that's no excuse for charging a child that you have right now, even if it's your stepchild. This woman was so cruel, she forced him to drink urine, drink hot sauce, and hand sanitizer. The father was also in on this. He did nothing to prevent this. He also went to trial, and he also got sentenced too. In the video she took moments before his death, he was begging, "Please, I just want bread," moments before he died and was rushed to the hospital. She tried to put the blame on the father, then she claimed, "Oh, I got a tattoo for this kid, I love him obviously," but they saw right through her BS. There were also bruises on this kid's body which raised the alarms for the medics that were treating him. What are your opinions on this story?
People are leaving this museum with bruises, scratches, and nightmares, and one painting might be causing it. The Artemis Fractal, painted by Bill Stoneham, is considered to be one of the most haunted paintings in the world. Zach Baggins from Ghost Adventures added it to his museum thinking that this would be a cool exhibit, but visitors are now experiencing physical and emotional reactions that are impossible to ignore. Here's the wildest part about it though, nobody seems to understand why this painting is actually considered haunted. Paranormal experts think that it might be a psychic amplifier magnifier, and the painter said that the painting has a living energy. That means that it can reflect and magnify the emotional and spiritual energy of anyone who looks at it. People look at it and they report fear, sudden sadness, even physical bruising and scratches, like the painting is reacting to them directly. When people visit the museum, they report fainting, crying, having nightmares, or coming out with bruises and scratches. And this isn't just an isolated incident. In the same museum, there's a doll named Peggy, and she's notorious for having paranormal activity. I'm gonna make a video about her after this. But like having both of these objects in the same space makes it feel like something dark is spreading through the rooms. Would you be brave enough to visit this museum, or do you think that all of this is just a publicity stunt? Let me know and follow for more.
Center of this circle. Now double tap the screen if you want to know what's going on. Try not to blink, and whatever you do not look away. Now as you're watching this, you will see this image begin to shift and move. This is the feeling of your brain changing your eye color. It will be a fully different color in 3, 2, 1. Go to a washroom right now and look at your eyes in the mirror. Your eyes will be a different color. Comment what you saw.
Crazy part is, most people believe that these 3 things will actually save your life. They don't. Let's pretend you're lost in the desert and you need water and you don't have any. So where are some places you can get water? One commonly held terrible piece of advice is to drink your own pee, because it's mostly made up of water, except there's 5% of that that's all made up of just waste from your body, and even though the urine might keep you alive a little bit longer, you'll ultimately die of kidney failure. So you don't drink your own pee. Instead, you head over to some cactus you see nearby because you remember reading or hearing in school that you can drink the water inside of cactus. Except, unless it's one really specific kind of cactus, you'll be drinking lots of alkaloids and chemicals that will make you viciously ill, and you'll start vomiting and you'll have diarrhea and you'll die from dehydration much faster. So as you're sitting there wondering what you're going to do next, a venomous snake bites you. And so you instinctively start sucking on the bite to remove the poison, but you can't because it goes right in your bloodstream, and all you'll do is die much faster from infection.
Let me tell you about some interesting things I learned today. When you get electrocuted, it's not the electricity that throws you across the room, it's just the force of your muscles contracting, which means that we are strong enough to instantly throw ourselves across the room. There was a man who sued Pepsi after finding a mouse in his Mountain Dew. The worst part of this is the attorneys claimed that the Mountain Dew would dissolve a mouse in 30 days, and they showed proof that the Mountain Dew was purchased almost 90 days after it was manufactured. I don't know how to feel about that. Apparently in a 5-digit zip code, the first number is your national area, the second number is your state, the third number is your sectional center or PO, the fourth and fifth numbers are small post offices or zones. I didn't realize there was that much of a structure to it, to be honest. This is a magnified photo of human skin after it's poked by a needle. I already hate needles, so this just doesn't make it better. About 95% of all spiders in our homes either were born in our homes or adapted to life in our homes, and if you take the spider outside, they will likely not survive. That's kind of sad, but also just don't show yourself in my house and you'll be safe. The word stress is just desserts spelled backwards. Those two things being related checks out.
Pedophiles in Japan are a major problem. We need to talk about this. So something I didn't realize was that CP or CSAM was 100% legal in Japan until 2014. That's right, it was completely legal until 2014. So that's disturbing, but we need to talk about JK Alley or Schoolgirl Alley in Tokyo. Basically, this is an alleyway in Tokyo where minors, girls that are actually all underage, sit along the street and offer their time to strangers for money. Men can go pay these girls to hold their hands and go for a walk, go for a cup of coffee. And keep in mind, all these girls are legitimately under 18 years old, and they volunteer to do this. Men can even pay to go sleep in a girl's lap. And in some bars, you can take an underage girl dressed as a schoolgirl in there, pay around 35 pounds, and you can sit there with that girl of your choice for 40 minutes and have unlimited booze. In some of these cafes, the men actually pay for what's called walking dates, meaning that they take these girls out on 40-minute and hour-long walks. And it's unknown what they do during these walks, but the girls are basically allowed to do anything. It's up to them and the client. And all of this is completely legal. In 2018, it was estimated that 5,000 minors worked on this street and in these cafes. And all of these children aren't just cosplaying schoolgirls, they are actually minors who are in high school. I mean, this is really incredibly disturbing stuff. And then we can get into something called Chaku Arrow, which is known as a suggestively clothed soft corn. And there is no age limit in producing this material. In fact, one producer of these photos and videos who was interviewed by the BBC said, "My youngest was 6 years old. This is a quote. We filmed her in her bathing costume playing with some toys. Her mom was standing behind the camera holding her favorite toys so she would face the camera." The producer then said that the DVD he produced and sold of the 6-year-old made him around 35,000 pounds. And he said that senior high school girls make around 7,000 pounds. Now, all of this stuff is extremely incredibly disturbing. Everything that I've covered is. But it's all legal in Japan. I just wanted to spread some awareness here and tell you guys about this because I could not believe when I read it that up until 2014, CP/CSAM was completely legal in Japan. I mean, what the hell? And if you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to my podcast, Murder in America, that I co-host with my wife, Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
Judge Mullins, I'm not sure you should have been running a sex trafficking ring out of the county jail, right? Do you guys remember this guy? Judge Kevin Mullins, who was shot to death in his chambers on camera by the town sheriff, had turned the Letcher County Jail into a brothel to fulfill the disgusting fantasies of him and his buddies. And I don't mean he was turning a blind eye. Oh no, he was the freaking ringleader. Mullins and his disgusting friends would set up these parties at the county jail and other buildings in town, and they would pick which inmates they wanted to be with. As a thank you to the women, he would reduce their jail time or whatever punishment they were facing. And if the women didn't want to or refused to participate, he would threaten them with maximum sentences or kick them where it really counts. Threaten to call CPS. He was literally leveraging their freedom for his sexual fantasies. And the most deplorable part of it all, the entire county knew. Taya Adams, one of his victims, said, quote, "Who would believe us anyways? The whole town was doing it. Nobody cared. They're all swingers. It was all a big party to them. It was just so normal. They used this against us to ruin our lives." We still don't know exactly why Sheriff Mickey Steins gunned down the judge, but we do know the sheriff told an arresting officer that the judge was trying to kidnap his wife and kid. We also know that literally seconds before the murder, the sheriff asked to borrow the judge's cell phone to call his daughter, which is how the sheriff learned that his daughter's cell phone number was saved in the judge's phone.
If you're having trouble sleeping at night, just think about the fact that as we speak, there are human-sized bats alive somewhere in the world, and there is nothing you can do about it. If you're 5'7", congrats, you just barely missed out on being shorter than this bat. Well, only technically, because a giant golden-crowned flying fox can have a wingspan of usually about 5 feet, but the biggest ones can have a wingspan of 67 inches. That's a whole lot of bat. And some flying foxes are diurnal, meaning you could actually run into this thing in broad daylight. But lucky for you, giant bats, megabats if you will, like the flying fox, are only found in the Philippines, and Australia, and Southeast Asia, and Africa. And the flying fox got its name because as a fox in the face, it cosplays as a canine on Red Bull. Be grateful because this is the hammerhead bat. It's not as big, but it's nowhere near as aesthetically gifted. Imagine that outside your window. Now if it makes you feel any better, nature's sentient baby-faced kite eats nothing but fruit and nectar. The vegan sky puppy is not only completely harmless, like all bats, they boost the global economy through the process of pollination. Fun fact, if Thanos had beef with bats, that snap would mean no chocolate, no bananas, no tequila, and for that reason, a lot of y'all would be Nemo, the Latin version. Also, as the world's only flying mammal, every day is Take Your Kids to Work Day, and they'll carry the literal next generation for up to 6 weeks. So rest assured, the only thing this anime-eyed pterodactyl finna tear up are some bananas, the more you know.
The fact that this man who worked with kids for so many years was good friends with John Wayne Gacy, one of the most disturbing serial killers, is insane. And if you don't already know, John Wayne Gacy was also known as the Killer Clown, but in the 1970s, he arred and murdered over 30 young men and teenage boys, and he actually buried a lot of them under his house. So while John was in prison, him and Brian became pen pals, and Brian actually kept all his letters from John in his nightstand. John also drew this clown painting for Brian, and in the back he wrote, "To Brian, I hope you enjoyed the painting. Best wishes, your friend John Wayne Gacy." This was revealed for the first time in the documentary Quiet on Set.
I noticed a painting in the room that stuck out to me because it had nothing to do with Planet of the Apes. It was of a birthday clown holding balloons. And Brian got very excited when I asked him about it. He flipped the thing around, and on the back it said, "To Brian, I hope you enjoy the painting. Best wishes, your friend, John Wayne Gacy." It was a self-portrait of serial killer, John Wayne Gacy. At this point, I'm like 14. I didn't know like the details, but I knew like this guy's a serial killer who like killed a lot of young men and boys. My instinct was like, everyone has to see this. And so like all the parents and the kids come into the room, and then Brian presents the painting again. And Brian actually developed a pen pal relationship with John. He kept like this pile of letters and photos from John Wayne Gacy in his nightstand next to his bed. And he like pulls them out and starts showing them to me. Your instinct is to give someone the benefit of the doubt. If you've known them for that long, even in the face of like this really bad sign. It was one of those like classic failures of group psychology. This man who was like trusted as basically a supervisor of kids is not safe.
Scary facts you never knew, part 9. When you feel your stomach drop while on a roller coaster, you're actually feeling your organs moving. More than 250,000 deaths are caused by medical error each year. Brains taste like ice cream. Only 1% of people can do this. Try typing your name with your phone upside down. No cheating. Bill Gates released 1 billion genetically modified mosquitoes into the air. This was in the Florida Keys 5 days ago. He says it's to help prevent mosquito-borne illnesses like dengue, yellow fever, and Zika. But people think there's something more sinister going on. Like what if he injected the mosquitoes with something else? But what do you think? Also to note, a 2019 Yale University study warned Bill Gates that the plan could backfire, creating hybrid mosquitoes that are more resistant to insecticide and could worsen the spread of diseases. If you look in a mirror in a dimmed room for 10 minutes, your brain will start to get bored and start imagining yourself as someone else. You can see who's blocked you on TikTok by clicking share, slide to the very end and click more, then click blocked. And if nothing pops up, that means no one has blocked you yet. The movie Hills Has Eyes is based on a group of Scottish people known as the Bean Clan. They were in the 16th century. They snatched over 1,000 people up and devoured them over the span of 25 years. This isn't a fact, but someone claimed to have gotten video of a UFO entering the moon, furthering the conspiracy that the moon is actually a secret alien base. If you like and follow me, you can learn something new every day.
We made dire bees almost 70 years ago, and we have not stopped paying for it. In the 1950s, folks flew in African honeybees to Brazil because they figured they could breed them with European honeybees in the hopes of making a hybrid better bee, one that was more productive than Euro bees and less on-site than Afro bees, because Afro bees are Black Air Force tier of trouble. Brazilian beekeepers used excluder screens to keep the African queens from getting out. Problem is, they did not tell the new guys. Someone saw the screen screening, and was like, oh, we can't have that, and removed the screen, sending 26 African queens and swarms of Euro bees into Brazil, which quickly led to Africanized honeybees, or more known as killer bees. You see, generational trauma then made these African bees that much more trigger happy. Normally, a European queen bee will usually send out 20 to 30 attack bees at once. African honey queens unload half the whole clip, sending thousands, sometimes 30,000 attack bees at once. Not only that, but they chase people further than Euro bees and sting 10 times as much, with cases of people being tailgated by an angry swarm for a quarter of a mile. There's even stories of swarms waiting directly above a body of water so that the moment the runner comes up for air, all he gets is smoke. Over 1,000 people have been turned past tents by an air force of spite flies. And after being released in Brazil in '57, they hit America in the 90s like Will Smith and left their mark like the Fresh Prince left on Chris. And to add insult, they also somehow nerfed the honey industry, so nature really slapped us for cutting corners. And today, Africanized honeybees are like a rash infecting the US Southwest. Moral of the story, be better or be turned into letters, 3 in particular, the more you know.
This woman was caught putting Roundup in her husband's Mountain Dew. This man from Missouri went to police after his home surveillance camera caught his wife, 47-year-old Michelle Peters, pouring Roundup, which is a chemical weed killer, into his favorite drink. He became a little suspicious in the beginning of May when he noticed that his Mountain Dew was tasting a little off. At first, he ignored the strange taste and continued to drink it, but a couple of weeks later, he began vomiting and having having a sore throat. Then on June 12th, he reviewed surveillance footage in his garage where he kept his Mountain Dew in a fridge, and it shows his wife pouring the Roundup straight into the Mountain Dew bottle. Around that same time, he had told her that he was feeling sick, and all she said was that he probably had COVID and to stay away from the grandkids. Eventually, he went to police and Michelle was arrested, and at first her defense was that she mixed the Mountain Dew with the Roundup because she wanted to create this strong weed killer, and she had seen this on Pinterest. But eventually, she admitted to everything, and she said she did it because she was mad at her husband for being unappreciative after she threw him a 50th birthday party. She then expressed that she regretted it and she should have just divorced him. She was charged with first-degree domestic assault and armed criminal action.
The demons in The Conjuring: The Last Rites might be some of the scariest demons we have ever seen. And I'm gonna be honest, I have a crazy theory thinking that this might be Bathsheba. Hear me out. These demons look eerily similar to each other. Now, Bathsheba is of course from the original Conjuring movie, and this is one of the new demons in the brand new Conjuring movie. So here's where the theory ties in. This original demon was one of the first demons Ed and Lorraine Warren ever encountered. And if you remember, Bathsheba from the original Conjuring movie was one of the most dangerous demons they ever faced. Who's to say Bathsheba didn't spin back with another demon? And we gotta talk about Smiley Pants here. Bro is genuinely terrifying. I'm not even worried about Bathsheba. I'm worried about this guy. Because in the trailer, he literally says to Lorraine, "I've been waiting for you." Bro's been camping this whole time, and who knows what he's actually capable of. And I also wanted to touch on this poster. The eye looks eerily similar to the nun. Does that not look like Valak's eye and or Bathsheba's eyes? I'm just saying. All in all, I am extremely excited for this movie, and trust me when I tell you, these demons right here will go down in history in the Conjuring universe for being the scariest demons we have ever seen. Especially Smiley Pants, because I don't know, I'm not dealing with it.
If you have a sweater that's really staticky, take a metal safety pin and put it on the inside where nobody can see it. This is going to collect the static and prevent it from building up throughout the day. You do not need to buy some crazy chemical to kill ants. All you need to do is fill up a spray bottle with 3 parts water, 1 part salt. It's gonna do the trick perfectly fine, I promise you. If you put a tablespoon of vanilla extract into your paint before going up onto the walls, it's not gonna affect the color, but it'll make the whole room smell like cookies.
How come nobody is talking about these pictures? These were taken somewhere in West Africa. People there claim that multiple ships came down to greet them. At first they were scared, but soon after realized that the beings were friendly. Now supposedly they were kind, but they had come to tell the people a message. They said they came to that area because this is where mankind began, and that they had come to warn us, their offspring, of what's to come. Now of course the people there were quick to take photos, and apparently the beings stayed for about 2 hours. They didn't speak with their mouths, but communicated telepathically. Now the message they left the people was frightening. But before I tell you, why do aliens come here and not take me with them? Earth is ghetto, okay? Let's say the aliens came and gave you an opportunity to leave. Your second act gets to come with you. Let me know who it is. And tell me, would you take them with you or leave them on Earth? The message they left behind was this. They said they had good children on Earth and bad children on Earth hiding amongst us, and that there would be a war between both soon. They also said something like planet Nibiru is on its way. I have no clue what that means. Do any of you?
Is nobody talking about the long walk being enforced by the government? If you haven't heard about this, it is an event that is sanctioned by the government and it is exclusive to teenage boys. 50 boys are selected by the government, and right now they are in the process of choosing the next 50, but for what reason? Every participant must walk in a continuous path at a pace of 3 miles per hour. If you do fall behind, you're given something like 3 warnings before you are entirely eliminated. There's no food, there are no breaks, there is no outside help. Reports are saying we might be getting some of the first images released from the walk, but the question is, why is this even happening? What is the point of it? The last one standing in the walk could win a prize of anything they wanted for the remainder of their lives. The question is this something that you could imagine that you would even make it to the end of?
How are you making it out of the house and where are you running to? Underneath the stairs, I would assume you have Pennywise. Then you have Jason and Freddy to the right. And at the top of the stairs, you have Michael Myers and Chucky. Your logical response is, well, I'm just gonna run up the stairs, go past Michael, and hopefully Chucky's not gonna latch onto me. But you'd be mistaken, because I would 9 times out of 10 say that Pennywise is going to grab your foot, and then they're all just gonna mob on you. So here's the only logical play you can actually make. Hopefully there's something near you that you can throw. Throw and hit Jason. And or try to hit Freddy, because those two absolutely hate each other. Then they're going to start fighting. And then at that point, hopefully you can run past them. But let's say that doesn't work. Let's say that strategy just makes them more mad. Then you're gonna have to use your brain a little bit. Now, the one thing about all of these characters minus Chucky is that they're very slow. Unless we're talking reboot Jason, who can literally sprint, Michael Myers moves like a bag of bricks. So as he's walking down the stairs, start to walk up the stairs as well. Pennywise should then accidentally grab his foot and not yours, having Michael fall. Then you have to go 1v1 against Chucky. I can already hear the comments now, Chris, he has the strength of a grown man. Okay, I'm a grown man, in a grown man's body. You think I'm getting torn up by a doll? You'd be highly mistaken. That ain't happening to me. And I'm just gonna waltz my way right out of there.
He ended his 5-year-old son's life because he ate his cheesecake. 29-year-old Travis Stackhouse lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with his girlfriend and 5 children. On June 22nd of 2019, it was Father's Day weekend and the family got Travis a cheesecake to celebrate. Travis only got a slice and noticed that his children were eating the rest of the cheesecake, including his 5-year-old son, Sir Amer. When he saw this, he became enraged because he felt like this cheesecake was just for him, so he punched his son in the stomach. But that wasn't enough for him, so he hit him in the face with the back of his hand that contained a metal implant. Eventually, 5-year-old Sir Amer became unresponsive, and instead of Travis calling 911 right away, he went out to a bar with his friends. Eventually, the family called for help and the police arrived at the home. At first, Travis claimed that his son fell down the stairs, but once an autopsy was done, it was a completely different story. The autopsy revealed that Sir Amer had a ruptured stomach, torn adrenal gland, and bruised kidneys. Once this was revealed, Travis broke down and confessed. He admitted to punching his son and claimed that he did this because he was so upset over the cheesecake. Travis was arrested, and as part of the plea deal, he pled guilty to second-degree reckless homicide, child abuse, and child neglect. He was sentenced to 28 years, so 20 years in prison and 8 years of extended supervision.
Victims Who Got Revenge, Part 2. In 1980, 7-year-old Anna Bachmeyer was sexually assaulted before being strangled to death by her 35-year-old neighbor. During the killer's trial, Anna's mother Mary Ann opened fire in a crowded courtroom and murdered the man. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison but was released after 3. In 2005, Indiana man Anthony Stockelman assaulted and murdered a 10-year-old girl named Katie. Unfortunately for Anthony, Katie's uncle was an inmate at the same prison he was sent to. As payback for what he did, the man tattooed the words Katie's Revenge across Stockelman's forehead. After being arrested for joyriding a stolen police car, Shane Goldsby got his sister's rapist as his cellmate in 2020. Despite Shane repeatedly asking for a transfer, no action was taken. After the man taunted him for days with specific details about the assault, Goldsby snapped and stomped the man to death. Goldsby later pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and had 25 years added to his sentence.
I want to rank some of the wildest theories that I've heard about the movie Weapons. Starting with one that I've actually heard a lot, and that's that Gladys represents America. So initially people were saying this because of her makeup, the red hair, the white face paint, the blue glasses. But then people were doing some digging and they found that Gladys is actually derived from the Welsh word for country or nation. And seeing as this takes place in America, we can kind of assume that's the country they're talking about. And on top of that, a lot of people say that the movie deals with the theme of gun violence, especially in schools, which seems to be a uniquely American problem. Now, the next tier down on the theory iceberg says that 217 is actually rooted in biblical prophecy. We know that all the kids left their homes at 2:17 in the morning, and some people are saying that that number specifically has roots in the Bible. Specifically, they say it's referencing Matthew 2:17 in the Bible, which talks about a prophecy that Jeremiah the prophet said would happen. And that says, in Ramah there was a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and would not be comforted because they are not. Now this one can feel like a stretch until you remember that Josh Brolin's character in the movie had a son named Matthew. They don't call him Matt, they don't call him Matty, they always refer to him as Matthew. And so I think that's where people got that they were intentionally making a nod to Matthew 2:17 in the Bible. Now, are either of these theories legitimate? The director has not said either way. But before anyone gets in my comments saying overthinking final boss or that I'm like overthinking, this is the fun part of watching movies. But what do you think? He opened fire on his family for making him wash the dishes. 32-year-old Gerardo Jimenez Rico lived with his family in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. On January 22nd of 2025, Gerardo's family had just come back from a trip from Mexico. Gerardo stayed home because he couldn't afford the trip since he didn't work. Once his family arrived home, a fight began over some dirty dishes in the sink. Gerardo's father told him that he needed to move out of the home and get a job. His sister, 22-year-old Jocelyn, is siding with her father and starts yelling at Gerardo. With all of his family members ganging up on him about these dirty dishes, he felt fed up and he snapped. That's when Gerardo grabbed a gun and shot his father.
Jocelyn grabs a kitchen knife to defend herself, but then Gerardo shoots her and ends her life. His mom enters the room and then moments later he shoots her as well. Once he had did this, he had quickly fled the scene. Police were called, and when they arrived at the home, Jocelyn was found deceased and both parents were alive but critically wounded. Jocelyn left behind her 3-year-old daughter and her fiancé, whom she loved very much. She had dreams of becoming a nurse and owning a cake business, but unfortunately that was taken from her. Hours later, Gerardo walks to the police station and confesses to shooting his family. He told investigators that his family had bullied him for years because of his unemployment, and the argument about the dirty dishes was just his breaking point. On June 24th of 2025, Gerardo was arrested and he pled guilty and was sentenced to 35 years in prison and 19 years of supervised release.
Victims Who Got Revenge, Part 3. When a predatory producer sexually assaulted one of her friends, Carrie Fisher sent him a Tiffany box with a severed cow tongue inside. She left a note with it that read, "The next delivery will be something of yours in a much smaller box." Tigers are some of the most vengeful animals on the planet and will take revenge on anyone who has wronged them. In 1997, a Russian poacher shot a Siberian tiger and left him for dead before stealing part of his meal. The tiger later found the poacher's cabin and waited 12 hours for the man to arrive before tearing him to shreds. In 1984, Louisiana karate instructor Jeffrey Doucette was caught molesting an 11-year-old male student in a motel room. A few weeks later, the boy's father disguised himself and waited for Doucette to walk by with police before shooting him in the head. The murder was caught live on camera by local news, but the protective father received no prison time for his act.